Well, hello, welcome back, or welcome. If you're new here, I'm Tina with Hanging with Frugal Tina. I say that all the time in my intros. I'm really getting tired of saying it, but there are new people all of the time. I'd like to introduce myself. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself to me. Tell me what your name is, where you're from, so I know how far I'm reaching, and maybe any dishes you'd like me to make or something you want me to stop doing that's bothering you. I'm just kidding. So, there are dishes that I have made, and I've made a lot of them. I think it's 385 videos, it might be 82, I'm not really sure, on here. So I don't know if I repeat sometimes. But if I did, bear with me, but I really don't know. So what we're gonna do tonight is I'm gonna make a dish called, I'm sorry, I'm looking away. I keep looking over there. I just saw my bearded dragon go running across the floor and licking something. I was trying to see what it was licking. So anyway, back to what we're doing. For dinner tonight, my car is up. The brakes are getting done, so I can't really go anywhere. So I have to shop my pantry. So I looked through my videos, what I've done to see if maybe what can I make, you know, because I'm scratching my head. You know, I've made a lot of dishes and I can cook a lot of things, but I'm not a genius. There's not a bunch of things in there. So I looked around and I came up with an idea. Now, I thought I had made this once before, but it's very possible I didn't. I made it for the kids, or it may be something I wanted to make. I don't really know. So we're gonna make it twice if I already made it. But we're gonna make a lasagna skillet. I had all of the stuff in my house, and you might too, with the exception if you don't carry cheese, like ricotta cheese or cottage cheese or mozzarella cheese, things like that. If you don't have those, then no. But everything else I already had in the house. I even had the cheeses in the house because I can't go anywhere, I'm stuck. So without further ado, let's get it, let's go. Let's heat up those pots, come on. Here she comes. She's gonna go jump up on my feet. Everywhere I go, she follows me. Before we begin, I'm gonna show you what I subbed out for Eric for the cottage cheese or ricotta cheese. Eric is highly allergic to dairy, so whenever we have something that has dairy in it, I have to swap his out. He has a separate food budget than ours for the things that he can't eat. Like he can't have cottage cheese, so he has a little bit of a different budget than we do. So I don't include that in these budget meals. That being said, instead of the cottage cheese or ricotta cheese, we're going to use some tofu. And then, of course, the Daya for his mozzarella stuff. So anyway, this is what we're going to need. You're going to need ground meat. I don't care if it's impossible meat, if it's turkey, beef, whatever. When the prices of beef come down, I'll start going back to using the beef. You're going to need some mozzarella, but you can get the block. You don't need that big bag. It's just what I have. Because you need 2 cups, and when you shred up that 8 ounces, it comes out to 2 cups. You're going to need some diced tomatoes and some tomato paste. Or you could sub it out for some kind of spaghetti sauce that you may have already prepared. This is to keep the cost down. You're going to need some pasta. Any pasta will do. I almost use elbow noodles, but because it goes farther, but I'm not feeding an army tonight. I think there's only 8 of us tonight. So, and the recipe does call for egg noodles, but I don't want to use that. You're also going to need some cottage cheese or ricotta. I had ricotta. You need a can of tomato paste. You're going to need an onion. I'm not going to charge myself for an onion because it's not a requirement for this meal to taste good. It's just an enhancer. I could use onion flakes or onion powder and get the same result. So that's why you won't see me charge for an onion. It's not like it's peppers, onions, and sausage, you know, sandwich that you need the onions. So in that case, I would. And then some water. Let me get out the spices and show you what you're going to need. All right, if you're not using something that's already seasoned, here are the things you can use. If you have Italian seasoning, you could just use the onion powder, garlic powder, and Italian seasoning. If you don't, you could use, or even if you do, because I still add this stuff in, some oregano, basil, thyme if you have it, parsley. Those are good alternatives if you don't have this. I do both because the Italian seasoning does have some things that I don't have on hand. So I use a little bit of that, and I additionally add the rest. Let's get started with the onions. Hey guys, I'm just popping on here to let you know something. This is not my recipe. I was following somebody else's. There were some twists and turns along the way, but in the end, it turned out okay. Okay, so I got my 2 onions. Here we go. Chop them up. Whoop. No rhyme, no reason. Just cut it up. Use the smaller one. I'm going to dice it up. My kids like onions, so I don't have to worry about, oh, the kids won't eat it. A lot of times they're like, where's the onion? So I don't really have to worry about hiding it. Thank goodness my kids are not like that. But there you go. Just dice it up. Just like that. Those 2 tiny onions made 1 cup of onion. I'm just going to add the ground turkey. There's a lot of liquid in this, so I don't really need to add anything else. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to chop it up and brown it up. When it gets most of the way there, we're going to add some onion. I have the pasta boiling in a pot of water. You don't have to cook the pasta in the water. You could do it as a skillet and do it like that. I just think it sucks up a lot of the juices and things like that, so I would rather just do it separate. But you just make sure you're covered in the liquids. Something else I'm about to do right now is I'm going to take, didn't think about it just this minute, about maybe a half a teaspoon of beef bouillon. And I'm just gonna, this is what I'm using. I'm gonna use just about a half a teaspoon just to give it a little bit of flavor. Just gotta be careful of the salt content. I'm just gonna do a pinch more. All right, let's get to browning that up again. And the onion will soak up a lot of that. It would even soak up a lot if you have like hamburger grease. It does soak it up. Not a lot, you know, with the grease because everything will taste greasy, but it does suck it up. Okay, onward forward, we're just gonna finish browning the meat and get the onions down to tender. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push the meat back over here because I wanna bloom the seasonings. I guess that's the word. I'm having a really difficult time these last couple of days. I think I haven't been sleeping well since my mom passed, so I think the sleep deprivation is getting to me. So I'm gonna turn this down to low. I'm going to put a tablespoon of Italian seasoning in. And then I'm going to do a teaspoon of everything else. Teaspoon of basil. Teaspoon of oregano. I believe this is thyme. Let me see. 1/4 teaspoon and a pinch. And then a teaspoon of parsley. I'm putting a big old heaping in there because I like parsley. Teaspoon garlic. Oh, I'm sorry, that was onion. Teaspoon garlic. You can tell by the color. So what I want you to do is just kind of like move it around the pan until you start to smell it. Now I may add more, but I just want these kind of like when you do a garlic, you wait until you smell it. I turned it up just a little bit. I can't remember if I told you or not that I'm cooking the pasta. I believe I did. All right. So I smell that. I'm going to mix it through. Give that a nice mixy poo. Took the top off of the tomato paste, and I also opened that up down there. It's easy way just to push your tomato through. Ow, just burnt my wrist. There you go. All the way out. I have a can of the diced tomatoes with the juice. This is not my recipe, I forgot to say. I'm following somebody else's. So if I feel like it's not going the way I want it to go, I will switch things up. Because I feel like it needs more juice. Like more sauce. Like I probably would have added a can of tomato sauce into this, not just the diced tomatoes. But we'll see. Okay, so we need that to cook. I gotta add a cup of water. Now I might add a pinch, just a pinch of sugar to this. I usually do when I make my homemade to get like the bitter tomato out of it, but we'll see. I feel like this is gonna need like a small can of sauce. All right, let that simmer for about 10 minutes. I think that's gonna be fine. In my refrigerator, I had a half of a can of petite diced tomatoes from a different recipe. So I think I'm going to add that in just to use it up. I don't think we need it because once these tomatoes start breaking down, we'll have a little bit more liquid. And it's only going over a pound of pasta. It's supposed to be like lasagna. It's not supposed to be saucy anyway. So we're just gonna let this simmer for a little bit and then I'll give it a taste and see if we're moving on. We are almost done. Salt and pepper. Now this is to taste, however you like it. But if you don't add salt, it tastes a little flat. I would just taste it. I'm like, does this need more garlic? Does this need more something? No salt. Oh. All right, let's give that another minute. It's only been simmering for about 3 or 4 minutes. Maybe like 5. More garlic. That's another teaspoon. And then a half. I think I might do more of the spices as well because I only did half teaspoons because I was using seasoned. So I just want to make sure. My little plastic spoon so I don't burn myself. I think it needs more seasoning. Yeah, I'm going to add a half a teaspoon more of everything. Teaspoon of all the seasonings, not the onion powder, garlic powder. And I went a little bit heavier on the Italian. It was like a heaping teaspoon. So we got two teaspoons, but one of them was heaping. And then we're just going to give that some time to simmer and do its thing. I'm adding a little bit, about a 1/4 cup more of the water because I'm cooking it a little bit longer. And that wasn't even a full 1/4 of the cup. And that's just from my sticking that spoon in there. Because if you're cooking the pasta in here, you would need to add more water as it went down. But it's fine. I put a pinch of sugar in it. That's a personal thing, but it does need a little bit more salt. It's still tasting just a pinch like it needs more salt. That I don't even think was a 1/4 teaspoon. I was shaking like crazy, but nothing was really coming out. This is the longest portion here. All right. Let's go over and start mixing up the concoction and let this just sit and rest while we're doing it. Give it a little bit of a taste with the little extra salt we have in there. That's what it needed. It needed some salt. That is perfect. I'm not going to touch anything else. We're going to turn it off and just let it rest while we wait for the pasta to get done. So this is for Eric, I took some of the tofu, I mashed it up with a fork, and then I'm going to use the mozzarella in there. I say it all the time, that's his favorite brand. And I may or may not use it all, but we're just going to put some in there. And then we're going to mix that up, and then I'll show you what we're going to do with that when we get to our portion of it. To this, I'm going to add a cup of cottage cheese or ricotta. I typically would go for the ricotta and not the cottage cheese, but when I was married, my mother-in-law used cottage cheese in her lasagna all the time, and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't until many years later I had found out that she was using cottage cheese. So that was 16 ounces because I'm making a double batch. I'm making for 8, not 4. 2 cups of mozzarella. Keep a little bit out for a second, and then we're going to mix that together just like I did with Eric's. And there's Eric's all mixed together. We're almost done, guys. I'm just warming up some bread that I had. I thought maybe I could use the last of the rolls and finish it off with some garlic bread, I guess. I don't know. Sounds like it would go good together there. All right. Got to get it all out. Can't leave any of that good stuff in there. All right. We're going to move back over to the stovetop. All right. Here we go. I did forget to mention something. I've had this sitting on the counter, so it's room temperature. It does better like that than taking it right from the refrigerator and throwing it in there ice cold. So I just let it sit out while I was making the rest of it. So I'm just rewarming that a little bit because it sat for a while. Simmered down, it reduced a little bit because I had to turn it off and walk away from it for a while, so I hope it didn't reduce too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pasta that I cooked, that I never showed you I cooked, but I told you I cooked, and we're going to start adding it right in here. I've already taken some out and moved it to the side for Eric's, and we're going to give this a good old mix. Now this isn't supposed to be saucy like spaghetti sauce. It's supposed to be like lasagna. Let me take a minute and start getting the stuff up from the bottom and mixing it through. Just to pull the meat from the bottom up to the top so you can see how much is in here. I was concerned that it wasn't going to be enough sauce, but I think it's going to be just fine. I'm hoping that when I put the cheese on here, it's going to melt, so I'm trying to make it good and hot because it did cool down a little bit. So let me get that to where it needs to be. Okay, so the recipe I'm following says once it's all mixed together to put the plops of the cheese mixture on top, and it should melt within a few minutes. Well, I've done that and it did not melt. It might have been because I stepped away for a minute and then reheated it, but it really should do it. And I have it sitting on low and it's just doing that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to transfer it into a skillet, not a skillet, into a little pan, throw it in the oven, let it melt. I don't know if you could see all that, but oh boy, that's a lot. Yeah, that definitely wasn't going to melt like that. It was too deep. The heat wasn't getting to the top. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push this down the pan a little bit. Probably needed a bigger pan. That definitely would not have done its thing in that frying pan. This was too deep and it just wouldn't have melted, I don't think. There's a lot of sauce in there though. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put some plops of this mixture down. It's got a little bit of sauce in it because I picked it off the, let me get a spoon. Just so happens I have one right here. And all we gotta do is just melt this cheese a little bit, so it's not gonna take that long. I wished I didn't walk away, and that's probably what the issue was. All right, so we're just gonna put some plops. Down like this. Like so. Probably could have did it in layers, but I'm still thinking about the frying pan version. All right, we're gonna put that in the oven, just let that melt a little bit, and then we're gonna be eating. Okay, I'm gonna take Eric's out and put that in. Eric's, now this is tofu and non-dairy cheese, so it doesn't look like ours, but I'll tell you what, it's as close as you can get. All right, let's get ours out of the oven. Alrighty, that is done. I'm gonna plate it up and I'm gonna meet you there. And there's my plate. I'm gonna meet you at the table. If you get any benefit at all from my content, you can help me out by clicking like, share, commenting, and definitely hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. We're at the table. This is a big old bowl of food. I just used some old rolls, made some garlic bread to go with it. And just get a go. It sat for a minute, so my cheese got a little bit firm, but just mix it through a little bit. Still hot underneath though. Ooh. Are you ready? Wait. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. That's yummy. Does it remind you of anything that you've ever eaten before?
The lasagna.
The lasagna, yeah. Kinda. It's a shortcut. We're gonna get off my bread, boy. Kidding. Eric has Follow Your Heart. I think it's Follow Your Heart. Follow Your Heart. It's plant-based cheese. Let's give it a taste with the other cheese on top. Our house, we call this the stinky cheese. When I was little, we used to call it feet cheese, but we don't want to go there. Let's see what it tastes like with a little bit of the Parmesan on it. All right, I'm ready. That's really good.
That is.
It's not the same as lasagna, but it's a weeknight feel of it. Right? All right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Let me get everybody else fed. There's not a whole lot of us today, thank goodness. So, but I got a ton of food, but don't worry. They'll eat it. I'll see you at the wrap up. Bye-bye. Dinner's over. How'd they do? Boom! Couldn't finish it. And I even have a big old plate put up for a tray. So that's quite a bit. Let's see what they thought about it. Aiden, what did you think about dinner?
I really loved it.
Nick, what'd you think?
It was amazing.
Eric, what'd you think?
It was great.
Great. He ate that whole pan. He's never done that. I'm surprised. I'm surprised he's not complaining about a stomachache. Tyler, what did you think?
It was very good. I wish I had more.
Oh, there's more there. You can have some. Yaya, what'd you think about dinner?
I thought it was amazing, and I would eat it again.
Eat it again. Joe, what did you think about dinner?
This was way better than I thought. I was envisioning macaroni with some kind of chili or something. It tastes incredible.
Okay, and for me, I thought it was really good. I do have a critique. just putting the plops on top, I probably would do it in a layer and not try and call it a skillet when I don't have a big enough pan or an oven safe pan. But other than that, it was absolutely delicious. So I hope you try it. I hope you like it. Don't forget to leave me a comment. See you later. Bye.